The quantum comm channels across Earth's orbital defense platforms lit up simultaneously on what would later be known as Revelation Day. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the center of Luna Command, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays showing thousands of unknown vessels emerging from fold space. They weren't the sleek, diplomatic vessels of the Trade Confederation that humanity had grown accustomed to over their 50 years of limited galactic contact. These ships bristled with weapon ports, their hulls scored with marks of countless battles. Multiple signatures detected, Admiral. Energy readings are off the charts, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the neural interface. They're not responding to standard greeting protocols. The Kraxan Empire had finally found Earth, just as the intelligence reports had warned, but they had arrived decades ahead of predictions. Status of the Aegis Defense Network. Chen's voice remained steady, masking the cold dread settling in her stomach. Earth's planetary defense grid was formidable by human standards, but against a species that had been spacefaring for millennia. All stations report ready, but Rodriguez hesitated. Their weapons technology, it's unlike anything we've encountered. Our shields might as well be tissue paper. Chen nodded grimly. Humanity had known this day would come. The Trade Confederation had warned them, in their cryptically diplomatic way, about the Kraxan. An empire built on technological superiority and absolute dominance, they viewed younger species as either resources to be harvested or threats to be eliminated. The first shots weren't fired by either side. Instead, a transmission cut through all frequencies, its message translated automatically by Earth's AI systems. The voice was artificially smooth, almost pleasant. Primitive species designation: human. Your technological advancement rate exceeds acceptable parameters. Submit to immediate resource extraction and species management, or face elimination. You have one planetary rotation to comply. In the tense hours that followed, Earth's unified council debated furiously. Some advocated immediate surrender, hoping to preserve some fragment of human civilization. Others called for a suicidal last stand. But in a secret facility beneath the Marianas Trench, Director Elena Santos was already implementing humanity's true response. Project Prometheus is ready, she announced to the emergency meeting of Earth's highest military command. We've achieved what the Kraxan and even the Trade Confederation thought impossible. The perfect fusion of human ingenuity and reversed engineered technology. The plan had been in motion since first contact. While openly accepting limited technological trade with the Confederation, humanity had been secretly preparing for this exact scenario. Every scrap of alien tech, every seemingly innocent scientific exchange, had been analyzed, improved upon, and weaponized in ways their creators never imagined. When the Kraxan deadline expired, they launched their first attack. Their energy weapons carved through Earth's outer defense platforms like they were made of butter. But they didn't find the easy conquest they expected. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented: human innovation combined with desperate determination. The first wave of Kraxan ships encountered modified quantum fields that turned their own weapon energies back on them. Specialized viral AI programs, designed by humans who grew up breaking computer systems, invaded and corrupted their naval networks. And in low Earth orbit, the first prototype of humanity's new defense fleet revealed itself. The Aeneas Hyperion emerged from its quantum shroud, a vessel that looked primitive by Kraxan standards, but incorporated technologies they had never conceived of. It didn't try to match the Kraxan ships in traditional combat. Instead, it demonstrated warfare as only humans could imagine it. Unpredictable, adaptive, and utterly terrifying to a species that had relied on technological superiority for millennia. What you're seeing, Chen explained to her stunned bridge crew as the Hyperion engaged, is human creativity meeting alien arrogance. They expected us to either copy their technology or remain primitive. They never considered we might take their tech and completely reinvent it. The Hyperion's weapons were a perfect example. Instead of trying to match Kraxan energy weapons, Human engineers had developed systems that turned the laws of physics themselves into weapons. Quantum entanglement fields disrupted the very space-time around enemy vessels. Probability drives created localized areas where the impossible became inevitable, like all of a ship's atoms suddenly deciding to be somewhere else. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Kraxan fleet was in ruins, their remaining ships retreating in disarray. But it wasn't just a victory. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity wouldn't be conquered, wouldn't be subjugated, and most importantly, wouldn't be underestimated again. In the aftermath, as cleanup crews collected debris that would advance human technology by decades, Admiral Chen received another transmission. This one came from the Trade Confederation, and its message was clear. Humanity had just changed the galaxy forever. "We knew you were different," the Confederation representative admitted, "but we never imagined. The Kraxan have dominated space for 10,000 years. No species has ever defeated them in open combat, let alone a primitive one. The balance of power has shifted." Chen's response was simple. "Then perhaps it's time for the galaxy to learn a lesson humanity discovered long ago. It's not the strength of your weapons that matters most, but the ingenuity of those wielding them." In the months that followed, Earth revealed only a fraction of its true capabilities. Project Prometheus, the Hyperion's more advanced successor, remained hidden in its quantum dock beneath the Pacific. The galaxy might have seen humanity's potential, but they hadn't seen anything yet. The age of human innovation was just beginning, and the stars themselves would never be the same. 6 months after the Kraxan retreat, Director Elena Santos stood in the quantum-shielded observation deck of the Mariana complex, watching as engineers made final adjustments to humanity's masterpiece. The INS Prometheus hung suspended in its massive underwater berth, its crystalline hull reflecting the azure lights of the facility. Unlike the utilitarian design of the Hyperion, this vessel represented something entirely new, a ship that merged human artistry with revolutionary science. "Final systems check complete," Dr. Maya Patel announced, her dark eyes gleaming with pride as she reviewed the quantum displays. As lead designer of the Prometheus project, she had spent the last decade pushing the boundaries of what even aliens thought possible. "She's ready, Director." The Prometheus wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's declaration to the galaxy. While the Hyperion had demonstrated their ability to fight, this vessel would show they could innovate beyond anyone's expectations. "Begin launch sequence," Santos ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. "Alert Admiral Chen that Operation Daybreak is commencing." The massive underwater doors began to part, displaced water creating currents that would have torn apart any conventional vessel. But the Prometheus's quantum field simply adapted, the impossible energies contained within its crystalline structure bending reality itself to protect the ship. Deep within the vessel's heart, Chief Engineer James O'Neill monitored the ship's revolutionary power core. Unlike the antimatter reactors used by most galactic civilizations, the Prometheus utilized what his team had dubbed probability manipulation. It didn't just harness energy. It rewrote the fundamental laws of physics on a localized scale. "Power systems nominal," O'Neill reported through the neural link. "Quantum matrix is stable. Reality distortion fields are holding at optimal levels." As the Prometheus rose from its underwater cradle, satellites across Earth's defense network tracked its ascent. To most scanning systems, the vessel would appear as nothing more than a slight distortion in space-time. A ghost ship that didn't quite exist in normal reality. Admiral Chen watched from Luna Command as the Prometheus breached the ocean's surface. Unlike traditional launches, there was no thunderous roar, no explosive display of power. The ship simply shifted, as if the laws of physics had politely stepped aside to let it pass. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Dr. Patel's voice carried a mother's pride. Every system, every component represents a fusion of human creativity with advanced science. The Kraxan and even the Trade Confederation built their technology through linear advancement. We took their basic principles and reimagined them completely. The Prometheus's weapon systems were a perfect example. Instead of conventional energy weapons or mass drivers, the ship utilized what the engineering team called causality cannons. These weapons didn't just damage enemy vessels, they'd retroactively ensured they had already been damaged before the battle even began. The ship's defensive systems were equally revolutionary. Rather than trying to stop enemy attacks, they simply adjusted probability so that those attacks had an infinitesimal chance of actually hitting. It was warfare through mathematics and quantum manipulation, turning the entire concept of combat on its head. A futuristic high-tech medical facility filled with advanced monitors, medical equipment, and glowing digital displays. A female astronaut in a high-tech spacesuit is performing CPR on a large black-scaled dragon lying on the floor, its body partially covered with medical cables and devices. Her hands glow blue with energy as she presses down on the dragon's chest. Around her, a team of human and alien doctors, including reptilian humanoids in armor, watch with serious and concerned expressions. Some wear blue medical scrubs, while others wear military uniforms. A digital screen in the background displays the word CUSSPNDDD in bright blue letters, and above the scene, a futuristic medical pod emits a glowing blue light. In the distance, an authoritative alien director in an ornate outfit arrives, observing the dramatic moment. The atmosphere is tense and cinematic, blending science fiction and fantasy elements. The Arcturus system blazed with the light of 3 suns, their combined radiance illuminating the massive fleet that had gathered in its outer reaches. The Kraxan Empire, humiliated by their defeat at Earth, had spent months gathering their forces. Over 2,000 warships, representing the largest armada in known space, waited to exact revenge on the upstart human species. Captain Sarah Martinez stood on the bridge of the EN's Prometheus, her expression calm despite the overwhelming odds. Behind her, the combined Earth defense fleet, 30 ships in total, held position near the system's quantum gateway. To any conventional military strategist, the situation looked hopeless. But humans had long since abandoned conventional thinking. Kraxan command ship is transmitting, Lieutenant Park announced, his neural interface processing the incoming signal. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Martinez allowed herself a small smile. Send them our response. Come and get us. The Kraxan fleet surged forward like a tide of metal and energy, their weapons charging. They had studied the footage from their previous defeat, analyzed every aspect of human technology they could detect. This time, they believed, they were prepared. They weren't. Activate the possibility engine, Martinez ordered. Deep within the Prometheus, the quantum core hummed to life, its crystalline matrices calculating billions of potential futures simultaneously. But unlike conventional probability computers, this human-designed system didn't just predict outcomes, it rewrote them. The first wave of Kraxan ships fired their enhanced energy weapons, expecting to overwhelm human defenses through sheer volume of fire. Instead, their beams passed through empty space. The human fleet wasn't where it had been a moment ago. In fact, according to the laws of quantum mechanics, it had never been there at all. Initiate Operation Checkmate, Martinez commanded. The Earth fleet split into 3 groups, executing a battle plan that seemed to defy logic. Ships appeared to move before they received orders, weapons fired at empty space that would be occupied by enemy vessels seconds later. The possibility engine wasn't just predicting the future, it was orchestrating it. Admiral Krixar, Supreme Commander of the Kraxan fleet, watched in growing horror as his carefully planned assault fell apart. Human vessels seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics, appearing simultaneously in multiple locations or vanishing completely only to reemerge where they were most needed. Impossible. He raged as another squadron of his ships was disabled by weapons that seemed to strike from both the future and the past simultaneously. Their technology cannot be this advanced. We are the Kraxan. We have ruled space for 10,000 years. The response came from Captain Martinez herself, broadcast across all frequencies. That's precisely your weakness, Admiral. You've spent 10 millennia perfecting what you already knew. We spent our time imagining what could be. The Prometheus demonstrated this philosophy as it engaged the Kraxan flagship. Its causality cannons didn't just fire energy bolts. They created localized fields where the ship's hull had already been breached, where systems had already failed, where reality itself had already been rewritten according to human specifications. But it wasn't just advanced technology that gave humanity the edge. While the Kraxan relied on rigid battle doctrine developed over millennia, human commanders improvised, adapted, and executed strategies that seemed insane until the moment they worked perfectly. Commander Helen Chen, leading a squadron of smaller vessels, demonstrated this when she ordered her ships to accelerate directly into a Kraxan battle group. The enemy commanders, believing they had trapped the humans, concentrated their fire on the approaching vessels. They didn't realize that the human ships had already technically passed through their formation seconds ago, thanks to temporal manipulation fields. Status report: Martine is called out as the battle entered its third hour. The response was better than even she had hoped. Kraxan fleet is in disarray, Lieutenant Park reported. 60% of their vessels have been disabled or forced to retreat. No casualties on our side. The possibility engine calculates a 99.9% chance of total victory within the next 20 minutes. The Grand Council chamber of the Trade Confederation hummed with tension as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for an emergency session. The massive holographic displays showed footage from the Battle of Arcturus, replaying scenes that defied conventional understanding of both warfare and physics. But it wasn't the display of human technology that had caused this unprecedented meeting. It was what came after. Ambassador Julia Rivera stood calmly at the center of the chamber, her simple Earth diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the ornate robes of the alien representatives. She had spent the last week fielding questions from increasingly agitated species, all trying to understand not just how humanity had defeated the Kraxan, but why they had shown mercy afterward. Your species continues to confound us, High Counselor Zextal of the Arcturian Collective stated, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated deep confusion. First, you demonstrate technology that should be impossible. Then you refuse to use it for conquest. This is not how emerging species behave. Rivera's response was measured but carried the quiet confidence that had become humanity's trademark. Perhaps that's because you're all still thinking in traditional terms of power and dominance. Humanity isn't interested in replacing the Kraxan Empire. We want to change how the galaxy itself thinks about advancement. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices and translated signals. The concept was almost heretical to species that had spent millennia establishing and maintaining the current power structure. But they couldn't ignore the results. The Kraxan Empire, once the galaxy's most feared military power, had not only been defeated but was now actively seeking diplomatic relations with Earth. On the other side of the galaxy, aboard the newly established Earth Embassy on Kraxan Prime, Admiral Krixar sat across from Director Santos, still struggling to comprehend the changes sweeping through his civilization. Our scholars have analyzed your technology, he said, his translator conveying both awe and frustration. By all known scientific principles, it shouldn't work. Your ships ignore causality. Your weapons rewrite probability itself. Santos smiled. That's because you're trying to understand our technology through your scientific framework. Humanity took one look at your known scientific principles and asked, why not do it differently? We don't just think outside the box. We question why there needs to be a box at all. This philosophy was spreading across the galaxy like a shockwave. Species that had been bound by millennia of technological and social traditions were suddenly questioning everything. The Zinthar, renowned for their rigid hierarchical society, were experiencing their first social revolution in 10,000 years. The Arcturians, who had always seen technology as a linear progression, were establishing research centers dedicated to human-style innovation. But not everyone welcomed these changes. A coalition of conservative species, led by the ancient Methrix Dominion, saw humanity's influence as a threat to galactic stability. Their representatives approached Earth with what they considered a generous offer: a seat on the High Council in exchange for restricting the spread of human innovation. Ambassador Rivera's response in the council chamber became instantly legendary. "You're offering us a place in a system we're not trying to join. Humanity doesn't want to climb the existing power structure. We want to inspire everyone to build something new together." The impact of human thinking extended far beyond military and political spheres. Earth's approach to problem-solving was revolutionizing everything from medicine to art. The Kraxan, who had never valued creative expression, were experiencing a cultural renaissance as their people began exploring concepts like imagination and innovation. On 1,000 worlds, people began asking questions that had been unthinkable just months before. If humans could reimagine the laws of physics, what else could be changed? If mercy could be stronger than victory, what other traditional beliefs needed to be reconsidered? The Trade Confederation's premier, representing the old guard of galactic civilization, finally asked the question everyone had been avoiding: what exactly do humans want? You have the power to dominate, yet you don't. You have revolutionary technology, yet you share it freely. You defeat enemies, then help them rebuild. What is your goal? Director Santos, speaking from the Prometheus during a goodwill tour of former Kraxan worlds, provided an answer that would be studied for generations to come. Humanity's goal is simple. We want to show the galaxy that progress doesn't have to be a competition. Every species brings unique perspectives and potential. Instead of fighting over who's most advanced, we could be combining our strengths to achieve things none of us could imagine alone. This vision was already becoming reality. Joint human-alien research teams were making breakthroughs that stunned both sides. The Prometheus's possibility engine, combined with Arcturian crystal technology and Zinthar energy manipulation, was opening doors to scientific realms that even humans hadn't dreamed possible. But perhaps the most profound change was happening on a cultural level. Species that had seen each other only as competitors or threats for millennia were beginning to explore cooperation. The Kraxan, once symbols of rigid military might, were emerging as pioneers of innovative thinking among the older civilizations. As Ambassador Rivera concluded her address to the Grand Council, she shared a simple truth that encapsulated humanity's impact on the galaxy. We didn't come to the stars to conquer them, but to help everyone see them differently. In human history, our greatest achievements never came from dominating each other, but from learning to combine our different strengths and perspectives. Now we're offering that lesson to the galaxy. The ripples of human influence continued to spread, touching every corner of known space. It wasn't just about technology or power anymore. Humanity had introduced something far more revolutionary: hope that the future didn't have to be bound by the past. 1 year after the Battle of Arcturus, the galaxy gathered to witness something unprecedented. The massive space station Unity, constructed through a joint effort of 12 different species, including humans and the formerly hostile Kraxan, hung in orbit around a neutral star. Its crystalline and metallic architecture represented a fusion of styles and technologies that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Captain Martinez, now Admiral Martinez, stood beside Director Santos on Unity's observation deck, watching ships from across the galaxy arrive for the first Galactic Innovation Summit. The Prometheus floated nearby, but it was no longer unique. New vessels incorporating human concepts of possibility manipulation and quantum engineering moved through space in ways that seemed to merge science with art. "Did you ever imagine this when we first launched the Prometheus?" Martins asked, gesturing to the gathered fleet of hybrid technology ships. Santos smiled, watching as a Kraxan vessel using human-inspired probability drives maneuvered gracefully alongside an Arcturian ship that had incorporated Earth's quantum field technology. "We hoped to change the galaxy's understanding of technology. Instead, we changed their understanding of everything." The summit itself was proof of that change. In the main chamber, former enemies sat side by side, sharing ideas instead of trading threats. Admiral Krixar, once humanity's greatest opponent, now led the Kraxan delegation in discussions about merging their military precision with human creativity. The old questions were always about who had the most powerful weapons, the strongest shields, the largest fleet. Krixar addressed the assembly, his translator conveying genuine enthusiasm. Humans taught us to ask different questions, not just about how to make something stronger, but how to make it better in ways we never considered. The evidence of this new thinking was everywhere. The Zinfar, who had once hidden behind impenetrable defenses, were pioneering new forms of quantum communication inspired by human concepts. The Arcturians had revolutionized their crystal technology by applying Earth's probability manipulation theories. Even the conservative Methrix were cautiously exploring human approaches to innovation. But the greatest changes weren't technological. Ambassador Rivera, addressing the summit's opening session, highlighted the true transformation. A year ago, the galaxy was divided into empires and territories, each species suspicious of the others. Today, we're creating something new, a community where advancement comes through cooperation, not competition. In the research laboratories beneath Unity's public chambers, the results of this cooperation were already emerging. Dr. Patel led a team of scientists from 15 species, each bringing their own unique perspectives to problems that had once seemed unsolvable. The quantum mechanics the humans had reimagined were being reimagined again through alien eyes, leading to discoveries that stunned everyone. "It's beautiful," Dr. Patel explained to a group of young aliens participating in the first multi-species education program. Humans showed that you could take established science and completely rethink it. Now every species is doing the same, but with their own unique insights. We're not just combining technologies, we're combining ways of thinking. The possibility engine, once the crown jewel of human innovation, had evolved into something far more profound through this collaboration. The Arcturians added their understanding of crystal harmonics, the Zinthar contributed their mastery of energy patterns, and the Kraxan brought their precision engineering. The result was a new technology that didn't just manipulate probability. It opened windows to scientific realms that no single species could have imagined alone. But perhaps the most significant moment came during the summit's closing ceremony. The Trade Confederation's premier, representing the old order of galactic civilization, made a historic announcement. For millennia, we measured progress by how far each species had climbed up the technological ladder. Humanity showed us that the ladder itself was an illusion. There is no single path to advancement, no one right way to grow. The future belongs to all of us, working together. The ceremony concluded with the unveiling of Unity's quantum core, a revolutionary power system that combined technologies and insights from 20 different species. As its activation sent ripples of impossible light through the station, Director Santos shared a quiet moment with Admiral Martinez and Ambassador Rivera. The Prometheus was never about proving human superiority, Santos mused, watching the gathered species celebrate together. It was about proving that there's always another way, always a new possibility if you're brave enough to imagine it. And willing to share it, Martinez added, nodding to a group of Kraxan engineers eagerly discussing theory with Arcturian scientists. Rivera smiled as she watched former enemies becoming partners in discovery. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, not our technology or our innovations, but our belief that the greatest achievements come from working together, from combining different perspectives to create something greater than any of us could manage alone. As the celebration continued, news arrived from Earth. The first generation of ships incorporating multi-species technology had been completed. They weren't just vessels of exploration or defense. They were floating symbols of what could be achieved when the galaxy's divisions were replaced by cooperation. The new dawn that humanity had helped create wasn't just about advanced technology or reformed politics. It was about a fundamental shift in how species saw themselves and each other. The galaxy was learning that true strength didn't come from domination or isolation, but from the willingness to share, to learn, and to grow together. As Unity Station orbited its star, its quantum core pulsing with the combined genius of many species. It stood as a testament to humanity's most important lesson to the galaxy. The future belongs not to those who guard their advances most jealously, but to those who dare to share them most freely.